Hello, I'm Laura Cellier and you're watching Inside the Americas on France 24. Coming up in the programme, Sony Pictures hit hard by hacking. First plots and personal emails were made public. Now, threats against cinema-goers. Plus, hold Greenpeace to account. Peru is seeking to extradite environment activists over damage to the ancient Nazca lines. And the AMC series Breaking Bad may have wrapped up filming, but people in Albuquerque, New Mexico are hoping the fans will keep on coming. But first, it began with corporate espionage, but the hacking of computers at entertainment giant Sony has become something much more sinister. A terrorist threat forced organisers to scrap the premiere of a film about North Korea this week. It comes after the theft of closely guarded film plots and personal emails between movie moguls. Nick Rushworth has the story.
A new car, a star-studded cast. And that was pretty much all Sony Pictures wanted to reveal as it presented Spectre, the next James Bond. Out at the end of next year, the movie's plot was online days later following that presentation. A disaster for the production company, which, like many, likes to keep its storylines top secret. Reams of sensitive material are available now after a huge cyber attack last month, which included embarrassing emails being revealed and the personal data of thousands of employees.
Sony's in big trouble. To me, this is Hollywood's Edward Snowden moment. And what's a problem with that is we don't know what's coming next.
The hackers have already caused plenty of trouble, pointing to pay disparities between male and female actors. The Hunger Games star Jennifer Lawrence, it emerges, as being paid less than male co-stars. They also revealed racially offensive email exchanges about Barack Obama by the Sony Pictures co-chair, Amy Pascal. The White House responded. The Sony boss made her apologies. Speculation rages North Korea may be responsible. Pyongyang is angry at the depiction of its supreme leader Kim Jong-un in the Sony movie The Interview. A comedy, it depicts an assassination attempt on him.
The hacking into Sony Pictures is clearly a righteous deed of the supporters and sympathizers of our country in response to our appeal.
That appeal was for its supporters to defend it from a film it describes as an act of war. In Los Angeles, meanwhile, moviegoers are mulling a threat that they should stay away from cinemas screening the movie.
To a certain extent, I guess you kind of have to take it into consideration, but I mean, there's really no telling. I mean, I wouldn't worry myself about it.
Now that they say that there's some sort of danger involved, I'm definitely not seeing it.
This spy story is just beginning. The FBI is now in charge of the investigation.
Now, will it be Bush versus Clinton in the next race for the White House? Well, it's now a strong possibility after the younger brother of former President George W. Bush this week all but threw his hat into the ring. He says he will actively explore the idea of running. If he won the nomination, Jeb Bush would likely face Democrat frontrunner Hillary Clinton in 2016. However, he will still have to win over conservative Republicans who disagree with his liberal views on immigration. The United States used a hip-hop group to try and oust the communist government in Cuba. Sounds far-fetched? Well, new documents reveal that is exactly what happened in the 1990s. Los Aldeanos were already writing protest songs in Cuba, but Washington thought they could do more and actually help bring about a revolution. Josh Vardy has this explosive story.
Rebellious words from a Cuban underground hip-hop sensation. But knowingly or not, Los Aldeanos' hard-hitting lyrics were all part of a hapless attempt by the US to foment dissent against Cuba's communist government, led by Raúl and Fidel Castro. Newly released documents have shown an unlikely connection between Los Aldeanos, Serbia's Exit Festival, and the United States government. In the 1990s, organizers of Serbia's Exit Festival helped to bring together a youth protest movement that eventually led to the downfall of former President Slobodan Milosevic. The US saw potential in this idea, leading to Creative Associates, a government contractor specializing in international development and working under the US development agency USAID, hiring exit promoter Rejako Bojdic. He then approached Los Aldeanos, saying he wanted to bring their music to a wider audience without mentioning his employers. Their work together led right to the popular Rotilla Festival, where the rappers called out Cuban officials by name. The concert resulted in Los Aldeanos being banned from making music in Cuba and a wider crackdown on hip-hop in the country. One Cuban government minister says the regime had been aware of the program and that they'd warned artists about coming under US influence.
We profoundly respect Cuban artists. We profoundly respect their artistic freedom. We don't just warn them, we give them all the information.
Los Aldeanos eventually left Cuba. What had started as a real grassroots protest movement had been compromised.
So I think that they were exploited as a resource, they were used as a tool, and they've lost their authenticity.
The rappers have since moved to Miami in the US, where their lyrical content has softened and popularity slumped.
There were more violent protests in Mexico this week amid a wave of national anger about 43 missing students. Police clashed with protesters who were trying to organise a concert in support of the students. They disappeared 2 months ago and are thought to have been kidnapped by corrupt police and then handed over to drugs gangs who murdered them. Forensic teams from Austria are now trying to identify remains that were found at a garbage dump. Hold Greenpeace accountable. That's the message from Peru after activists defaced the ancient Nazca lines with a political message. Peru wants to extradite the activists. At least a dozen were involved. It's accusing the organisation, which is dedicated to saving the environment, of causing irreparable damage to a World Heritage Site. Deeptika Laurent has the story.
It was this Greenpeace stunt last week that angered even fervent supporters of the organisation. At sunrise on December 8th, a handful of activists crossed the Nazca lines, a protected zone that's even off-limits to dignitaries, unveiling this message. A political statement timed to coincide with the United Nations Climate Change Conference in the Peruvian capital, but one that left a trail of footsteps in the limestone etchings.
We cannot allow Greenpeace activists to come and do irreparable damage to what is the archaeological heritage of our country.
Lima accuses the environmental activists of defacing the millennia-old designs. They're calling on Greenpeace to identify the culprits and said it will consider extraditing them after a local court rejected last week their demands to keep them in the country.
Only Mauro Fernandez, the activist who speaks on video, has been located, and he should have given us the names of those who accompanied him. They're not giving up the names, addresses, and details that we need to continue with legal proceedings.
On Saturday, Greenpeace apologized for its antics.
Greenpeace should never have done the activity at the Nazca lines. We made a mistake. We must now commit our full attention to making amends.
The man-made Nazca designs were etched on the desert ground over a period of 1,000 years. Its size and quantity are a great archaeological enigma. Today, it's part of the United Nations World Heritage Site.
And finally, the phenomenally successful TV drama Breaking Bad put Albuquerque, New Mexico, firmly on the map. Well, since then, the city has become something of a pilgrimage site for the show's fans. Breaking Bad's success had a positive impact on the local economy, but after 5 seasons and 62 episodes, it's now off air. Well, local government is trying to keep people interested.
The series has ended, but the famous RV from Breaking Bad is still alive and kicking. At least a replica of it is. This one isn't a meth lab, it's a tourist bus.
Hey, over to my left is the Crossroads Hotel, used in almost every season.
These fans paid $75 for the Breaking Bad RV tour. Brian and Kelly came all the way from New York to visit the series' shooting locations.
Matt, yo?
Matt. Blue Matt. The crystal, yo.
The highlight, the house of Walter White, the show's protagonist, a physics teacher turned methamphetamine producer.
I was obsessed with the show for a while, so now I'm in front of Walt's house. This is where the magic happened.
The guy knows what he's talking about. He was an extra on the show.
You guys can check in here. Now you'll make everybody mad back home.
And now that the show is over, he wants the magic to last.
They can't get enough of the show because it's gone. So what's the next best thing to do? Go to the city where it was filmed and see all the locations so that you can fill this void that you have.
Sandoval is not the only one to have built a business on the success of the hit series. This candy shop makes sweets which look just like the blue meth that Walter White, a.k.a. Heisenberg, cooks on the show.
I'm really the original Heisenberg.
It's the top sales item in the shop and makes up about 30% of its revenue. But will the candy survive the end of the show?
Of course it's going to slow down, but we'll always have the diehard fans that couldn't get here. Like, this was the first year after it ended, so we had a huge number of European tourists.
Thanks to Breaking Bad's worldwide success and to a 30% tax break for movie studios, many other productions have made their way to New Mexico. A recent study claims the industry has created as many as 15,000 jobs in the state. The new Avengers movie, a multi-million blockbuster, was also shot here recently.
You have productions that can come in and spend literally some very large productions in about 9 months spent close to $100 million. So that's money going into your economy.
More good news for the region. The Breaking Bad spin-off Better Call Saul about the original show's goofy lawyer is also being produced in New Mexico. It premieres in February.
Well, that's it for this edition of Inside the Americas. Thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.